Well, it's a big week for SIA. We've got Lobby Day tomorrow. It's the largest lobby day SIA has ever hosted with 160 plus companies with the largest sign-on letter for congressional action in ever, I think. 1,700 plus?
Yeah, something like that. I don't know. I haven't done the math.
Yeah. So as part of that, we're bringing in tons of our members over this course of this week, and we're so happy to have Priscilla Barbour here with us from Primergy, based in Texas.
Yeah, it's such a great opportunity to have these conversations with folks as they're sort of getting ready to tell their story to lawmakers too, because I think there's some really interesting anecdotes coming out of all over the place, and Priscilla had some really interesting things to share about the impacts that their projects are having in local communities and the ways in which they're talking about the growth that they're seeing and all of it is positive and exciting and hopeful, which is the way you want it to be, and it's just kind of important to remind ourselves like this isn't a given. Like we have to make sure we're pushing for the right kinds of policies and the policy certainty so that businesses like Primergy can keep going. So and she's got a great perspective on all that.
No.
So we shouldn't tag your mom on LinkedIn and put that?
She's actually a part of my story for one of the first questions. I don't know if I'm a second generation energy professional. I've been around this industry my whole life. So I never thought I would work in energy, but here I am.
Here you are.
Why don't you just start with that? Why don't you tell us about your
story.
career progression?
Yeah, so this career path has been interesting and not anything I ever expected. I went to college in hopes of being a nurse, and somehow today I work in energy policy. So very, very different. But I'm a second-generation energy professional. My mom has been a part of the energy industry for 39 years in corporate risk and insurance. So I tell people that I was literally born into this industry. I used to go to work with her on the weekends, and I thought it was the most boring thing in the world. And then one day I finally realized that my love for policy could be useful and that I knew a lot about the industry already. When I was in graduate school, I started studying how to build sustainable cities, and that's where my passion for energy policy grew.
I love it.
So, after graduate school, I had the opportunity to come here to D.C. to work on Capitol Hill. I was a staffer for Congressman Cedric Richmond through the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation Fellowship Program. So it's a 2-year program. I spent 1 year in his office, 1 year on the House Energy and Commerce Committee. And I learned so much in my 2.5, almost 3 years in D.C. that it has truly shaped the trajectory of my career all these years later. So then had the opportunity to go back home and work for the hometown large power generator, Vistra, which is the parent company of TXU Energy. So long-standing company within the state of Texas, which had expanded from 1 state to 12 states and 24 states where they had customers. So it was really a good opportunity to learn what a really robust energy generation mix looks like, the policy priorities for a company of that size with so many different customers. And now I'm happy to be a part of the renewables industry. I joined Primergy 9 months ago to lead policy and communications. And it's really exciting because in the last 4.5, almost 5 years that Primergy has been a company, they've developed some exciting projects that's really pushed the industry forward. And we just look forward to doing more of that.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about your company, actually? You do storage, you do utility scale.
Yes.
Give us your scope of work.
Yeah, so Primergy Solar is a utility scale developer, owner, and operator of solar and battery energy storage. We started out as a company developing distributed generation and small-scale solar for community solar projects in Illinois. So we do have a 35-plus project small-scale portfolio as well that we still own and operate. And we also own and operate the U.S.'s largest solar plus storage facility with the Gemini facility in Nevada. We recently commissioned a project in Arkansas, the Prairie Mist Project, and we hope to have another project come online in Texas in the early part of this year. Ash Creek is the name of that project. So we're moving fast.
So you're 9 months in. What's been the most surprising thing that you've learned joining, I guess, coming into the clean energy space? You've been in energy writ large for a long time, but what have you learned in your first 9 months?
The renewables world is so different. And although in my previous role, there was renewables development, but working for a developer is so exciting. You get to see a project grow literally from the ground up. And I get to work with our development team and help them build out strategies as they work with landowners, regulators, federal agencies with permitting, and really seeing a project all the way through from the greenfield stage to development and then operations. So it's been really exciting. In the renewable development space, things move very quickly. Yeah. You have to be adaptable and flexible, and it's really challenged me professionally in a way that I'm super excited about the work we do, and I learn something new every day.
That's the dream.
Yeah. Like there's no boring days at all.
That's for sure. I can agree with that.
Especially today and tomorrow. You're here for Lobby Day.
Yes.
Tell us how it's going in Washington. What are you here to do for SIA's largest lobby day ever? Tell us a little bit about it.
Which is super exciting. We had some time with our footprint members today. We had some one-on-one meetings. There's a lot of overlap with the meetings that SIA is also targeting for Lobby Day, and I'm excited about the energy that we're bringing to the Hill tomorrow. And I warned the offices. I was like, get ready. We're coming.
Good. Prime them.
Yes. And there's a lot of us. But I do think that our message is strong and that, there's value in what this industry has been able to do, not only for clean energy, but for energy across the board and grid reliability. And I think the growth of this industry is evident, and the benefit of the energy incentives that have been enacted over the years is only adding to that value. So I think they will hear our message loud and clear.
So you work in policy
within
your company, obviously. Do you feel like what you just described and the conversations that you're going to have tomorrow are is that understood within the whole of the company that you work in? Like, do folks see sort of the impact of policy on the business and connect those dots?
We spend a lot of time talking about how policy impacts our day-to-day. Our CEO, Ty Dahl, he takes policy very seriously. He has made it very clear to our entire company that, regardless of the policy outcomes, we're well-positioned because we've spent the time focused on strategy, building relationships, and making sure that we've developed good projects that can be adaptable to policy changes. So I think it's very clear across the board that policy is a critical part of what we do. We're part of a highly regulated industry, but policy has transformed the way we've been able to do business over the years. So I think that's very clear.
That's good.
What do you think the effect on people has been of these policies over the last few years?
Yeah.
Is there anything you can say about the way it's influenced your company's ability to grow, how you work in the community, anything in that regard?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, SIA has some great data that's come out recently about jobs and the number of manufacturing and construction jobs that have been the result of the growth of the solar energy industry and the direct byproduct of these energy investments that we're seeing. So, I think what we've been able to do as an industry is the direct result of these investments and companies taking full advantage of them. I know our leadership team is excited about the prospects of domestic manufacturing. Being able to grow our supply chain here in the U.S. is going to be important, not just for us as a company or as an industry, but just for our competitiveness as a country overall. So I do think Primergy has seen benefits, the industry has seen benefits, but also the nation is seeing a lot of benefits. And I heard a phrase today in one of my meetings on the Hill. They were like, oh, solar jobs are construction jobs. And I think it's starting to resonate more broadly, just the impact that the industry is having on construction and other industries that we use to develop these projects.
I also want to ask you about Texas. I don't know if our listeners could tell, but you've got a bit of a Texas accent.
I can't escape it. I try.
So the focus this week is on Capitol Hill here in Washington, and we're talking a lot about federal policy, which is obviously critical, but the states have a role to play too.
Absolutely.
So what's happening down in the great state of Texas? Anything that we should know about?
The great state of Texas, where I think the solar industry is growing there too. Mm-hmm. I hate to say that we're number 2 in anything, but Texas is the second largest solar state in the U.S. And I think energy policy will continue to be a focus of the legislature this session. Mm-hmm. Conversations that I've had, people have questions still. I think people are talking about, how growth in demand will impact the state of Texas. It's a growing state. It's a thriving state. It's a great state for business. And all of that means we're going to need more power. Mm-hmm. And we know that solar and storage is a part of that solution. We can build solar and storage projects quickly. Mm-hmm. They're cost effective. And, they help with reliability. There have been reports that have come out over the last year that talked about the summer months in Texas, where mm-hmm. you've seen fewer emergency calls for conservation because you now have more solar and storage online. Mm-hmm. So I think that message is starting to get out there. And as long as we remain consistent and in front of the legislature and talking about the success of our industry, I am very hopeful that renewables will continue to grow and thrive as policies evolve. I will say I received some advice from a state legislator. He said, people have to know who you are. Mm. They have to know what you all are doing in their districts, the jobs that you're bringing to their districts, but also how these projects are helping us secure the grid. So I know SIA's having a lobby day in Texas mm-hmm. in a couple of weeks. Mm-hmm. We'll be there for that as well.
Great.
We have our Ash Creek project in Texas. It's in Hill County, 408 megawatts, will power 22,000 homes. And we're just excited to tell Primergy's story in Texas and share the same message with the legislature.
That's great.
But there will be no shortage of issues this session.
Yeah.
I do know that the lieutenant governor, he noted that grid reliability would be a priority for him this mm-hmm. session. So we'll be paying close attention to that. Mm-hmm. And then I know there's also a focus on AI data center growth and what that could mean for power demand.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I heard you say earlier about just kind of the trickle-down effect when a company like yours does really well, what effect that can have on the community. And I think you have a couple of examples of some of the work you've done.
Yeah.
Would you mind walking us through a couple of those?
Yeah, sure. So the first example I'll share is with our Gemini project. We developed in partnership with the Moapa Band of Paiutes, which is a local tribe to the area. We were able to develop an apprentice program. Mm. So we had apprentices on site working directly on the project, learning the skill and the trade of construction and operations. And we had a tribal liaison that was a consultant to our team that entire time. So being able to build that relationship, we were able to, obviously build the project, develop a great partnership, but also help develop skills and tools that they will be able to use going forward and develop a successful career in this industry. Mm-hmm. Also, with our Ash Creek project, we recently had an exciting opportunity with Solve Energy, and we partnered with Heart of America, which is a nonprofit organization that renovates schools. Oh, so awesome. We were able to work with Penelope ISD and Abbott ISD, which are the school districts where our project is located, to help stock up their new science lab with all of the supplies that they needed. Mm-hmm. We provided some beautification to the campus. And then for Penelope ISD, we completely remodeled their elementary school library and also their gymnasium that had not been renovated for decades. Mm-hmm. So it was an incredible opportunity. The entire Primergy team and Solve teams were invested. We had about 35 people from Primergy attend. And I know Solve had a similar number of employees attend to support those events. And, we made sure we shared this information with our stakeholders. So school board representatives were there, state and local elected officials were there, and then also Congressman Jake Elzy had a representative from his office there. So it was really important that we got the entire community involved in that opportunity.
That's so great.
So exciting to see the real local impact that the good work and success of a company can have in a community.
Yeah. And if you all could have heard the screams of those elementary kid students when they saw that gym for the first time, it was absolutely incredible. And our CEO was able to be there, and a number of our leadership team members were there, and they could really feel the importance of this event and how valuable it was for the community.
Yeah, it speaks to what the message you shared from the Texas legislator that, encouraging folks to tell that story, right?
Yes.
Like make sure that policymakers understand that it isn't just about, panels going up in fields. It's actually impacting people's lives in these communities.
Absolutely.
And, when you think of solar, you should think of schools and county budgets and all that kind of stuff. It's huge.
And so, the landowners that we work with for that project, I have to give a huge shout out to our development team that's been working on that project, and they have an incredible relationship with them. Their kids go to that school. So they were like, I know about that project. I've heard about this project. So they're connecting the dots that like you see the solar development in your community. This is the direct result of that. And so Solve had a really great idea of creating what's called a good energy corner. So they have
the name.
Ideal.
Rings a bell. But they have a solar panel installed in front of the school that powers a battery inside of the library where they will learn about the project. And they get to see firsthand exactly how electricity is generated from solar.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Was there anything that we haven't asked you that you'd want to share with our listeners?
I have to compliment Sia. You all have done an incredible job working not only with your member companies, but I think with all of the clean trade associations to make sure that we are very clear about our message, that we are well established with our relationships, regardless of who is in leadership. So I think that's so important. And I know our CEO, Ty, values our membership of this organization. I just want to thank you all for being strategic and forward thinking and forcing us to get out and tell our story because it is the district stories. It's the real tangible impact on constituents that I think will help us bring our message home.
Yeah. Well, I'll say the thanks right back at you to be one of those storytellers because that's what we need. So we're really appreciative of partners like you all to help, connect the dots for people and show what we're doing out in the field because it's good stuff and people need to know about it.
It's exciting. Yeah. It's an exciting time to be a part of this industry. I'm happy to be here.
Good.
Priscilla Barbour, we're happy that you're here with us too. Thank you for taking the time on such a busy couple of days to be here.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity.